Hello and welcome to Love Capsule, the confessions you won't hear anywhere else.
Today, we're opening the capsule with Ludivine, whom you discovered on Love is Blind France.
Ludivine, we were lucky enough to experience that crazy adventure together, and today we get to look back on it a bit.
And above all, we're going to start with the truth why love alone isn't enough to make a relationship last.
Thank you so much for being here. Ludivine, first of all, could you introduce yourself a little for those who don't know you? Because unfortunately, we didn't see much of you on screen, and maybe tell us a bit about how you experienced it all.
Well, yes, we really didn't see much, it's true. My name is Ludivine and I'm a photographer. So I wanted to take part in this show to try to find love without seeing the person. I thought, why not? Give it a try. And just let myself be carried away by love, quite simply.
And how did you experience it? This experience from the inside?
It was pretty tough emotionally. For someone like me who usually manages my emotions really well, I found it very hard. I think you all went through pretty much the same thing. We were locked in. We weren't allowed to go outside, not allowed to talk to people. At first, we weren't even allowed to talk to each other, the girls. It was really complicated. But emotionally, I think we all got a bit attached to each other anyway because we didn't really have our usual bearings. And so we got attached to the men. So look at our relationship today. It's working and it's lasting. And so basically, we kind of got tricked. They were telling us he was sort of the man of our lives. Well, I'm not sure they were really looking for the man of our lives. But they tried to say, well, maybe he could do it. Maybe we'll put him in there. Not him. Yeah, yeah. So for some people, it worked out. But for others, I think, well, look, there were only two couples out of 15. Yeah, out of 15. Yeah. So that's not a lot.
So you still experienced it. In the end, the experience, all the capsules, you went through it all the way up to the reveal. You had every moment. Can you tell us a little about how you felt before the reveal? Because that's a key moment for a lot of people.
Before the reveal, for me, what happened was that I wasn't stressed at all. I described the person who was behind, I described them perfectly. Oh, yeah, it was really funny. I described them exactly to the person. I told them he'll be like this, like that, like that. And I said, not very tall. And there you go. We saw him. So, yeah, I wasn't stressed. And I think I told her, but I don't think he's stressed either. Like, she told me, well, neither of you is stressed. What do you want me to do? Andre, you're there, kind of shocked. Like, well, they're not stressed. What do you want? I wasn't stressed at all. Like, I was comfortable with myself. And so when I saw him, it was as if I already knew I was going to see this person. It was really funny.
It's crazy because every time we asked people what state they were in, everyone was feeling all sorts of things, us included. Yeah.
It's because I managed my emotions this time. So, no, I managed to handle it. And I think he did too. It was just when he saw all the cameras that he fell apart. Because I'm kind of used to it since I've done modeling. So I knew that. For me, you shouldn't look at the camera. You have to focus on what's happening. And that's it, really. It's like you're with your friends, just living in the moment. That's all. So he was stressed. He really wasn't feeling well at all. I tried to make him forget about it. I said, I'm here. Look, I'm right here. Maybe he was stressed afterwards when he saw me, or because I'm amazing. I don't know. I know how to understand you, but I'm not really sure.
So, where are you two at right now?
It's over. We tried like everyone else. And after 2 months, it ended.
All right. Do you think that going through this experience has changed your perception of romantic relationships?
No, I don't think so. It hasn't changed, but I do think that now I'm a bit more open. Because before, maybe I was a bit more focused on looks. And so I'm opening up a bit more emotionally. We look at Kim and Thomas, who ended up together. Honestly, I think she never would have gone for Thomas otherwise. It's just that emotionally, Thomas was interesting and she thought, why not? Let's go. And I think that's also the case for other couples who got together like that. It's simply for that reason. Cindy and Jonathan, let's be honest. I think
That I'm going to say Cindy and Jonathan, but did I miss some scoop?
You didn't say it.
Cynthia, Jonathan, sorry. So, yeah, there are couples like that who weren't necessarily aligned and yet it still worked out. That's cool.
We've all heard at some point that love is enough, but is that true or is it not really better? It's dangerous.
So for that, we're going to ask you a few questions. Okay. Have you ever been in a relationship where there was love, but everything else was missing?
I've already been in a relationship where there was love, but not everything else wasn't missing, but some very important things were. So I stayed in a relationship with a guy for 3 years. For me, it was my dream to leave, to travel a bit to the other side of the world, to go back and forth between Bali and Paris. That's what I'm doing now. And so he tells me, "Oh, no, no, I want to stay in my little Parisian suburb." I said, "No, come on, we're going to move." He already had 2 kids, and he told me, "Yeah, no, no, maybe in 10 years." That's what he kept telling me. I said, well, I believed him. I was crazy in love. So I said, okay, let's believe in it. At some point, I told him, well, I'd like to have children. And that's when he started to freak out. I was like, oh, okay, so you don't want kids? All right, it was nice. I love you, but see you around. Actually, I just left, plain and simple. Because, my first 2 dreams, which are super important to me, are to start a family. And the second one, of course, is to travel all around the world. I think we only have one life here. If we don't enjoy it now, we know. So really, I just left, that's all.
Despite the love,
You were madly in love with this guy?
Yeah, absolutely. Even if he's a narcissistic pervert, let's just say it. Yeah, I was madly in love with him.
What was for you the biggest lesson that love isn't enough?
That love isn't enough. I'm trying to understand. I think that's the lesson, really. I think it was my most important one. Lesson, basically, that I was beautiful being in love. I think that when you don't have the same life goals, when you hit a wall, often it's just not the right timing for people either. You can have the perfect person in front of you and still not have the right timing. So he doesn't want kids. You want a child, you want to travel. He doesn't want to live in the same country as you or even the same city. It's complicated work too. Imagine I have to move over there. Apparently, you're supposed to follow the person you love. It's complicated.
has this been a recurring pattern in your relationships?
Me, no. But as a result, I've had a lot of relationships. Guys who lived pretty far away. I had one from Guadeloupe, one from Miami, another from Bali. I think I chose them far away. I don't know why. Whereas before, I always chose people in Paris. But now I decided to leave and have long distance relationships. But it didn't work out with any of them for different reasons in each relationship. But I think love isn't enough. Like there was the one from Guadeloupe, well, emotionally, he just wasn't stable for me at all. And even though I loved him, really, I had a lot of love for him, but emotionally, he just wasn't on my level. And that's complicated too. I only have one at a time.
And on the other hand, have you ever had, for example, someone who had everything you wanted, but you just weren't crazy in love?
Yeah, that's hard too. So, well, he has everything. Like, there are plenty of guys I meet who have it all. They have good jobs, they're all really cute, they're nice, they have everything. But I'm just not attracted to them, plain and simple.
It's really a mix.
It's hard. I don't know if we fall in love with toxic men, even though I don't want to fall in love with toxic men anymore. For more than 5 years now, I've really been attracted to good men, really kind men. But well, after that, it doesn't go any further because sometimes it's just the timing. Sometimes it's just not the right person. Or sometimes we just don't match well enough, plain and simple.
It's true that we also talked in another podcast about the importance of timing. Sometimes you might meet an amazing person, but you're just not in that mindset to settle down, or he isn't, or he's in a relationship, or there's always something that,
We know all too well.
in your opinion, what are the essential ingredients? Communication, values, the timing we talked about, respect.
For me, everything you mentioned is essential. Because without that, it's complicated.
Do you see any others? It's essential.
Kindness for me is super important. If you're not kind, you'll manipulate, you'll hurt people, you'll lie, you'll do everything you shouldn't. And so the relationship simply becomes toxic. When you're nice, when you're kind, when you have a sense of humor too, when you have wit, having a sense of humor and wit is super important. That's what also gives energy to the relationship. Otherwise, well, we just get bored.
I'd like to follow up on your long distance relationships. You said yourself that it's a pattern that's been repetitive for you. How do you handle it? The emotional lack, the physical lack.
It was hard.
What tips could you share? Maybe for the listener.
What was hard for me is that I always told myself, never in my life would I get into a relationship with slow men. Okay? But you have to do it anyway.
I said the same thing.
I said, you went through it too. You see, what do we do? No, it's just that I told myself, actually, for love, I've reached an age where I think, really, I believe we can experience anything. I loved this person who is Anglo Globe. I told myself, well, he has potential. I thought, come on, let's give it a try. And actually, well, I've learned to manage my emotions really just over time. You love, you cry a little, but you don't experience that passionate love like when you were younger. It's exciting, but much less intense. And so you can even love from a distance. For me, I've actually already experienced loving someone from a distance. Both of my relationships were long distance. And the one in Miami, well, I was spending 3 months in Paris, 3 months in Bali, so it was manageable. But it's true that 3 months is still a long time.
Months, especially at the beginning of a relationship. It's the beginning that's the most complicated. So I think you need someone who has worked on themselves to go through that, knowing you and your mindset in relationships.
Ah, no, you know me well, yeah. I need a man who has worked on himself, otherwise I just. Honestly, I've had a lot of men. Actually, I've always wanted to save them at some point because, yeah, either I push too hard or I want to save them. So now I'm learning not to force things or try to save anyone at all. For a very long time, well, actually, only recently. For over a year now, I think I've really been making myself stop trying to save or force relationships. And so even now, I step back because I feel like I want to save them, but it's not my place to do that. It's up to them to save themselves, to learn on their own. I can give tips, but it's up to you to do it. It's up to you to do the work.
The fact of stepping out of that comfort zone because you were either in a savior role, but now, since you don't want to go there anymore, does that shake you up? Your relationships, do you feel less attraction, less passion?
Yes. So I feel less passion. So I have trouble meeting the right person because I need someone who is emotionally ready. And I think that in Paris, there aren't many men who are emotionally ready. A bit more people who travel are already open minded and emotionally open. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard to find them then. Because for me, I've reached quite a high level since I've become spiritual. I've worked so much on myself that I need someone who's at least somewhat balanced. Even if he's not quite there, it's okay. Even if he doesn't understand spirituality, just that he's done some work on himself, that's super important to me.
So when you meet that kind of person, usually you move past the passion.
We
Move past the passion when both people have worked on themselves. Usually you move past the passion and get into something very stable and very healthy. And so I don't know about you, but for me, sometimes it makes me think to the fact that love doesn't feel as intense as it does in passionate relationships, even though what you have is actually much more.
healthy.
But it's true when you meet people who are open spiritually or even just into personal growth and so on. You end up experiencing things that are a bit healthier, which is a real change from what you've been through before. It's funny. So, in your opinion, is loving someone enough, or do you also need to know how to build something together?
You need to have a couple where both people want to build something together. If you're not on the same timeline or don't share the same life goals, for example, if Stan doesn't want children, at some point you'll have to guide him because you want to start a family. You see what I mean? You have to build together, even if the other person isn't necessarily ready. If he has the intention of having children, you can give him some time. But if he's not on the same page as you, if he says, well, no, I don't want kids, then you have to stop actually. Or simply, well, no, I don't want to go there. And if your dream is to go to the United States, for example, it's going to end at some point. You won't have a choice.
There are two types of people. Those who are like you and say, no, I have a dream, I have a life goal, etc.
But we can also know people who tend to hold themselves back, even if it means giving up on their dreams.
But is that a healthy relationship? I don't know.
I totally agree with that. I think before I was a bit emotionally dependent. Not really dependent, let me try to explain. Basically, I was living other people's dreams. So my ex wanted to live there. Well, okay, I guess I didn't have a choice but to live there. Okay, my ex didn't want kids right away. So I held myself back. Well, he didn't want kids right away. But at some point, I said, stop. Actually, no. In fact, each person needs to have their own dreams, and then the other can dream too, so that both can dream. Quite simply, if both people are able to dream, it's wonderful. But if one crushes the other to live out their own dream, well, no. To me, I don't think that's fair. You know what I mean?
If you had to give advice to a woman who believes in love, what would you tell her?
To keep believing in it, because even I still believe in it, quite simply. And to believe in your dreams and to believe in love, because love is still.
Wonderful. Despite everything, despite all we've been through, it's still beautiful.
Despite everything we've been through,
We're going to move on to the debate part. Basically, we're going to ask you questions that we also ask ourselves. We'll try to answer too, so we can have several points of view. The first question, careful, this is a 10,000 euro question. Are you ready? Which is worse? A lot of love without stability or stability without passion?
That's tough. Before, I would have said passion. 1,000 times passion. Today, I think I would say stability. Because that's how you build something. Imagine you have kids and you don't have a man who's stable. It's complicated. It's
Tough.
You end up all alone. I'm telling you, 1000%. The man isn't there to help take care of the kids either. It's complicated. I think I would say stability in a relationship.
And you? Same here. I would go with stability because I think it's easier to rekindle passion when you already have stability. That is, if someone is lacking a bit of passion, you can always reignite something. You can always get them out of their comfort zone, surprise them, and so on. But on the other hand, if it's all about passion, but the guy, you know what I mean? He can't keep it together and so on. It's going to be hard to rein him in. It's going to be hard to make him understand that there are responsibilities. It's less enjoyable to have to deal with that, to have to tell a man, listen, now you need to set some structure in your life. We have kids and all that, but on the other hand, it's more enjoyable to tease him a bit to try to spark some passion. So that's the direction I would go in.
1,000 times I've experienced both, and passion, I don't want it anymore. I really don't want it at all. It's too destructive. We just can't anymore.
No, but I think passion, you can still have it at the beginning. In any case, in a couple, right at the start, you can have it and have the stability too.
You can have both.
But without it being passionate in a toxic way, you know?
Actually, you're no longer in that fusion. You're not in a codependent thing where you can't live without the other person or you crush yourself for them. That's exactly the kind of relationship where, like you said, you end up living out the other person's dreams. That's when you're in the throes of passion. So actually, if you want a love that's built over time, you also need to be okay yourself to be fulfilled. And so stability really does make that a lot easier. You're less likely to lose yourself.
That's why for me, I've probably been betraying for over 5 years now, and I prefer to live my own dreams instead of having a soulmate or whatever.
So, ladies, do you think that couples who last are necessarily those who have more than just love, darling?
Yes, absolutely. Love, I agree with you. It's not enough. It's a foundation, but it's not enough. Like if you have love, but the person doesn't respect you or lies to you, or I don't know, anything really, or if they don't communicate the same way as you or don't have the same love language, it's tough. When you're with someone whose love language is completely different from yours, it's really tough. So I think the couples that work best are the ones who have good communication.
It's really important that they're truly your very best friend. I honestly think both at the same time. And you're absolutely right, aren't you? Yeah, I agree with you. It only happens about 1 time out of 10. Still,
Even in a debate, we can't manage to contradict each other.
it depends. We each have our favorite topics.
That's true. In your opinion, do women and men expect the same things besides love? Or are they different expectations?
I think they're different expectations. I think men and women, I don't know. That's a really good question.
That's a good question.
For me, it's totally different.
Oh, yeah?
Go ahead, give us a man's point of view.
The expectations. I know.
Men's expectations, they only expect
Sex and good food too.
That's it. Yeah, it's actually simple. You can't expect to get into social issues, geopolitics, and all that. No, but honestly, I think men's expectations are a bit simpler.
Where is the peace?
First of all, peace. But actually, men, we have somewhat simpler expectations. That is honestly things like good food, having our partner be beautiful, desirable, and pretty simple things. On the other hand, I think women are much more into observation and analysis. And if they react like that, it's because of this or that, and so on and so forth. And actually, we don't have the same expectations at all. We generally pay very little attention to signs and so on. Well, but you've got some exceptions. But a lot of men are less into nitpicking or just don't want to look for problems. And because when you have something that's going well, that's working out, honestly, it would be stupid to go and make your life difficult. I'm talking about men who are healthy. Then there are guys who are narcissistic perverts, who are uncomfortable in their own skin, who lack self-confidence, or who do stupid things. Those guys are more into nitpicking, stirring things up, and so on. But for a guy who's healthy and everything's going well in his life, he's not going to start analyzing his girlfriend to see if something's wrong or whatever. It's funny because when we went into the capsules on the first day, I told the girls it's simple. They just want peace and to laugh. So there's not much you need to give them in the capsules. Just share a bit of your energy. something a bit fun, and that's it. And it's proven to work. It works. Of course, we're generalizing here. Be careful. There are people who are sapiosexual. There are people who are actually interested in the dynamic the other person brings, and so on. I'm really talking about the basics here, but for me, that's what it is. The only image they showed was of an open relationship. I'm just going to ask, are you open to open relationships? I've never tried it. That's the problem. I've never tried it. I don't even know if I'm for it, but maybe after 20 years in a relationship, at some point, why not open up the relationship or just bring a new dynamic to the couple sexually so as not to lose the family? But that's also the thing, you see, in More Than Love, there are couples who actually need that after a certain amount of time together. To have that openness to avoid ruining everything, because after a certain amount of time, there are other needs.
Desire isn't the same as it was at the beginning. The flirting and seduction games aren't the same as they were at the start, and so on.
And it's true that sometimes love just isn't enough anymore.
I totally agree. Can love survive without a shared project?
No.
No, you and I, we say it straight from the start. No, it's not possible.
It's impossible. But even small projects. Not necessarily huge things, not necessarily building an empire or a business if that's what you want, but small shared projects, it's vital. Trips, little things, it's vital for me. Vital, it's vital. And for you, no? Actually, a shared project is like a family.
Simple things.
Actually, yes, but there are couples who complement each other by each having their own life. There are couples who live, for example, if you take, for example, there are plenty of couples like that. There you go. But there are still shared projects. There are small projects, but for example, you see men and women who like to keep their own apartments, keep their own lives, etc.
But it's mostly at the end of...
It's when you get older after your first life, that's usually when it happens. Yes, that's it. But after that, you do need at least one shared project. But there are couples who like that.
I know some.
I have an example that comes to mind. Specifically, who live apart. And who see each other from time to time, who don't party together, who don't have the same circle of friends, who each have their own thing, but who still meet up and complement each other in intimate moments and like to believe they're together. That's a sex friend.
But careful, I was just giving an example like that.
The question is it yes? For me, no. I'm like you.
But I was just giving as an example that some people, some couples sometimes can live like that.
It's very rare. I have a friend who's 40 years old, and I also forgot to set him up with someone, and he made it clear to me that he didn't really want to.
I asked him why, and he said, well, I don't want kids, I don't want a husband.
Right away, he told me, we're not on the mountain.
I told him okay, so we stayed really good friends.
He told me that now, actually, he'd like for each of them to live in their own apartment, even though his wife has a child.
And at first, when I told him, I looked at him, and he said, oh yeah, you don't want that.
It's still unusual, it's kind of strange. He told me, no, but that's how I see life. It's still very strange.
Yes, but these are people who don't want to commit anymore. But for me, that's no longer a couple. It's perfectly fine if it works for them and suits them.
But for me, you can't call it a couple anymore when you don't want to share anything in common.
If you just want to share intimate moments or only the good times, unfortunately, a couple isn't just about the good times. It's also about the times when you'll argue.
It's also about the times when you have to support the other person when things aren't going well, because there are times when things don't go well. For me, that's no longer a couple.
And the routine, you have to accept it.
And I think there are people who
think, well, no, I don't want that. Well, okay, well, soon then.
But there are also too many people now who don't want to make any more effort.
It's like if something's wrong, if there's routine and stuff, instead of trying to rekindle your relationship, instead of trying to find solutions, you just give up, especially in Paris. Look, I get on Tinder, I get 400 matches in a day, that's it, I can leave and do something new. Unfortunately, you see that a lot now too.
Alright, thank you ladies for sharing your opinions with me.
We're going to move on to the solution section, ask you some questions, and you'll give us quick answers.
Punchline.
In your opinion, what are the signs that love is no longer enough in a relationship? Basically, that the person is no longer attentive.
First sign. That's the first sign for sure.
100%. If the person is no longer attentive at all, like you don't even get a message in the morning, or doesn't make you a little coffee in the morning, or doesn't give you a little kiss in the morning, or any of those simple things, that's not a good sign.
It means they're looking elsewhere.
I'm telling you, usually it's true, I agree.
What do you think?
Steph, I think I had a friend who used to send his girlfriend messages all the time.
I'm thinking about you all the time. It always came from him. Every day, I had 3,615 messages. I'm thinking about you in less than 8 months.
I know you think about me, find something else. It went along with the I love yous and you're very pretty.
What should someone look for beyond love to build a strong relationship?
A strong friendship, I think, at the core. As long as you're friends, you can have a blast together, you can laugh, you can talk about anything. Yeah. When you can't talk about everything, well,
Once again, you can tell she knows what she's going to say. Yeah, I agree.
If you had one piece of advice to give your past self, what would it be?
I don't watch anything at all. Everything I've learned, no, I don't regret it.
Even in love?
No, really. Everything I've learned in my relationships has helped me become who I am today. I thank God for that. For me, that's super important. Me,
You see, actually, to my past self, it would be to work on myself more quickly and on my traumas, on my toxic patterns that keep coming back, etc. If I had understood earlier on that it came from me and not necessarily from the people in front of me, I would have worked on the problem faster.
yes,
But it wasn't the right time. And so each,
thing happens at a certain time and you must work on it.
I agree. So what's your advice? Should I try to meet you a bit earlier, perhaps? I know, darling.
No, I would have learned earlier that actions have consequences.
That's good.
Maybe I would have done things differently in some things. That's
Not bad. I really like this page. And watch out, the last one, Ludivine, I'm going to give you a text. You have a lot to fill in.
Okay. Here we go, open relationship. Let's keep it moving.
Love without.
Love without communication isn't possible. For me, you have to communicate. It's the foundation of a relationship. If you don't communicate, it's over for me. I love it.
Thank you very much, Ludivine.
Thank you in any case for giving us your time. As for us, we'll see you next week for a new episode. Don't hesitate to tell us in the comments what you thought of this podcast and keep following us on Instagram for more updates. See?
You soon?